Okay, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد عبده ورسوله أما بعد. So, welcome, alhamdulillah. We thank Allah again for allowing us to be here. And this morning we're gonna kind of work through a process. And again, we ask us all be patient with each other because we know what our intention is, but we're kind of making this up as we go along. And there'll be some wrinkles. Yeah. And what our intention is in terms of format today is to read a a verse. And anyone who wants to read in Arabic will take a few minutes to do that. Whatever your level of proficiency is, it's okay. Doesn't have to be with full tajweed, or it could just be word for word, or you might decide you don't want to read it all. It's okay. Um, and then we want to have some look at grammar of one phrase. A lot of times over the years, folks want to go through a whole bunch of the Quran at one time, right? But our approach is going to be maybe stay with one ayat for a week. And every day, just take a look at one phrase. What is the patterns, the grammar of that phrase? And then have some discussion about what we see there. And then toward the end, see about how you, me, us, we might decide to apply what was covered in the morning. And so we're intending to stay with one phrase for 2 days. I will do this part, and then on the second day, Imam Fahim will go into more in-depth understanding and comprehension of the phrase. Did I get it right, Imam, in terms of
Yes,
how?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So just kind of give everybody the roadmap. We're happy to see all of you here. And I'd like to even start because we want to have practice. Um, we all often like to start with what happened yesterday in terms of what showed up in your life or how the energy was or whatever like that, so that we get a chance to repetition and feel whatever it's doing. So I'd like to just take a minute or two. Does anybody have any reflections from yesterday's experience? We had our kickoff, and we had our two rakahs for Salatul Duha. Does anybody want to share any thoughts about the energy or what happened or how your day was as we're using this platform to kind of kick off our day? Anybody have anything they want to say? And again, we just want to take 2 minutes for this. And if not, it's okay, but I'll at least open it up. I don't want to say nothing, Dr. Z. It's too early in the morning. So,
Uh, Speaking of, this is Ali.
yes,
Of things that was on my mind was when you ask, what did we want from this? And I did mention the first thing was to be more consistent in my reading, and this would give me a little discipline on reading the Quran daily. But second to that, I misspoke and mentioned cheating. I shouldn't have used that word. And I was glad that the Imam clarified, corrected and clarified. But I only use that word not in a pejorative, but in the sense that I know and respect how much it takes to make Hajj. And yeah, so I was just generalizing when I said, and
Alhamdulillah.
the benefits of getting uh, the benefits of Hajj and Umrah
Yes.
this way.
Yes.
I
Alhamdulillah.
understood. I understood that you're not suspect at all. But
Yeah.
for your own conscience, it's good that you had a chance to say that. But for me, you didn't need to. But for your own heart, I accept it. That's good.
But
Yeah.
I did appreciate that clarification from you.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
All right. Very good. Yeah, you didn't do anything wrong, brother. You know, we're here. This is a big blessing, Allah allowing us to be here. So do we have any readers in here? Any Arabic Quran readers? And even before we jump to that, does anybody have anything else as a reflection from yesterday? Just the last minute on this. We're going to move forward.
Assalamu alaikum, brother Imam.
Alaikum assalam. Thank you, Camila.
Yes, I am. I just wanted to clarify. I didn't give myself enough of a window to be prepared to have, but I'll have my camera on shortly and I'll be fully
It's,
engaged. So
it's okay. I
I just wanted to
understand.
say that. But
Yeah.
yeah, yes.
Okay. So I had one reflection from yesterday. It felt like Ramadan to me. Um, it was something about Salatul Duha that's very, very special. Duha means the greater light. And I appreciate uh, what we're doing here. So, do we have anyone that wants to read uh, the verse with us today? I'll start it off, but I just want to check. If you do, put your hand up. If you know how to put your hand up in the in the in the Zoom here, um, down at the bottom, there's a
Assalamu alaikum,
it
brother
says
man.
react, and you can click that react button at the bottom bar and hit raise your hand like I'm doing that right now. And if there's anyone that wants to read for the verse, I'll put it up and start us off. Then please raise your hand like this. I heard someone.
Yeah, brother man, it's brother Ibrahim Al Islam. I was traveling yesterday and I didn't know what verse we were starting, what Quranic verse
Yeah,
we were starting from.
yeah, it's all good. We're going to lay it out. It's actually 59:18, and I'm going to talk about why these verses and all of that. We're going to look at the grammar and such. Are you an Arabic Quran reader, Ibrahim?
Unfortunately, no, sir.
It's okay. It's all right. Um, is there anyone who's courageous enough? It's okay. All right. MashaAllah. Well, we have time to grow here. So I will read the ayat, and then we will get into what is prepared for today. Um, Share screen here. So as I said, we're going to focus on this one ayat, and we're going to look at one phrase today. Okay. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. This is in Surah Al-Hashr, which is the 59th surah, and it is the 18th. We're starting with the 18th verse. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullaha wal tanzur nafsum ma qaddamat ligadin wattaqullaha innallaha khabirum bima ta'malun. Okay. So why these ayats? Sadaqallah al-Azim. And Imam, I need to learn the rest of that dua. Ashhadu. I'm a witness of that, I guess. But why these ayats? Why these ayats? So I want to tell you a little story, and then we'll take a look at the grammar in these words for in our phrase for today. So it was Monday, April 8th, 2024, the last day of Ramadan last year. And we know Ramadan, the blessed month, and it's, commemorates the revelation of the Quran. And um, reading is the first word of the revelation, as we all know. So I view Ramadan as a friend that comes to visit us once a year, stays for 29 days or 30 days. And what happened was, when we have a friend that visits us, when we know that they're about to leave us, what do we do? What's our practice? And I do want to make this a little interactive. If you want to use the chat to put something in, or if something resonates with you as we go through this, then please feel free to use the chat. Well, normally we try to spend as much time with that friend as we can, right? Because, Ramadan comes, it brings us many gifts and many blessings. So it was after Asr prayer, about 2:40 p.m. And the idea came to me, your friend Ramadan is about to leave in a couple of hours. So I wanted to spend as much time with the Quran as possible. So I'm sitting, I'm reading up until Maghrib time. And it was really an invigorating experience, because every letter, every syllable, every word is a miracle. It's lessons in revelation. And then something happened that was amazing, because I ended the reading on this chapter in these ayats 18 to 24. And Ramadan gave me a special gift. It was an inspiration. It was a strong inspiration. And it told me to write a book from these 7 instructing signs. So our motto is, we hear, we pay attention, we obey. And we made a decision. This idea was planted, and some of the students that we've been working with, we've been working on it. So I don't know the full benefits of these words. Allah is the best knower. I just know every time I read them, I feel something powerful. And I found that a noted commentator of the Quran from the 12th century, Tafsir Majma al-Bayan. I'm going to share something he said, and I don't know, I don't know about these things. Allah knows best how authentic or what this is or isn't. I just found it and it touched me. And so he says that according to a prophetic tradition, whoever recites Surat al-Hashr, the gathering, then paradise, hell, the throne, the 7 heavens and the earth, as well as animals, winds, birds, trees, creatures, the sun, the moon, and all the angels invoke God Almighty, that he may bestow his mercy upon him and forgive him. Had he died on that day or night, he will be a martyr. And all I can say is, Allah knows best. So let's take a moment and look at the grammar, the words of this phrase, and see what and see what we get. So this first word here, yeah, it's evocative. It's really something to get attention. It's designed to get our attention. And we're gonna look at a Yusuf Ali rendering of this phrase and also what we came up with, uh, the students and I. So yeah, you have alladhina. Yusuf Ali say, oh, those who amanu. This amanu here is often translated as believe. Grammatically, it's a past tense verb. So it's talking about those who had some type of action, right? And it's in a particular pattern that means that it's causative. It's a certain form. There's so much in the language and the structure of the words themselves. And this causative factor is really, they were caused to believe. Now, we don't always say they were caused, but in the structure of this particular word, they were caused to believe on a surface definition. And then ittaqullah, which is be conscious of God, but it's a command. It's a command. It's an order from God to be conscious. And when we look at it, this is something that's happening inside of the person. This idea of consciousness and regardfulness, it's often defined as fear. And maybe all of those things are involved, but I like to think about it in terms of consciousness, being aware, consciously aware of Allah. And it's something that happens within. And so we're kind of looking at it, it looks like this idea of belief, which we'll look at a different definition of it, could be defined as this consciousness, right? In other words, the consciousness is the definition of belief. And when we look at Yusuf Ali in his rendering, which again is what most of us are used to, he talks about, let me see, I can actually put it up here. Give me one second. Thank you all for your patience. Here we go. So he basically on this phrase, he says, "Oh, you who believe, fear Allah." That's what he says. And in our work, and again, the language that we use will be new to us because the work we're doing is looking up these words in Arabic dictionaries. Because if you look up a word in the language of that language, it's going to give you more clarity. And you can decide whether or not our rendering here is clearer or not clearer. It's okay, whatever you see. But this is what we came up with. Attention, when that yeah is there, it's evocative. It's designed to get your attention. Attention. Pay attention. And then all of those who obeyed willingly and trusted. I was in an eye doctor appointment some years ago, and there was an old African American man there, and he asked me, was I a believer? And I said I was. And people use this term very loosely. We talk about somebody a believer or not a believer based on the label that they use. Well, I felt at that moment that he was asking me, was I a believer in Jesus Christ like he is? That's the feeling I got. And I just said, yes, I am a believer. But when we looked in one of the Arabic dictionaries, the definition that he gives is that Belief is really obedience and trusting, right? And I look at that definition as much more universal than just saying, I believe because of some label that I use or don't use. And so Allah is and again, it's a you, masculine plural, which includes everybody, you know, all of you who obeyed in the past willingly, voluntarily obeyed and trusted, right? Ittaqullah, short phrase. But again, because it's talking to everybody and it's a command, we say you are commanded to make God consciousness, this taqwa, right? What is that? Well, it's defined as a protection. It's a protection for you, for all of you, from the painful suffering that can occur. You can think of taqwa as a protection suit, like from your head to your toes. And so, again, you can contrast these two renderings or expressions and decide which one of them gives more clarity. And we know that people have a lot of options in terms of, you know, what they want to believe, how they want to approach life nowadays. And some people think they can just do whatever they want to do with no regard for Allah, for God. And that's obviously not what this universal definition is. Allah wants us to pay attention, right? And He wants us to obey. And to be obedient, there's certain kind of commands that we have to follow in our behaviors that prove that we're being obedient and that we're trusting. And so the command here is to be God consciousness, this awareness and regardfulness of the one who provides everything for your life. And we've come to believe that this is the highest level of consciousness for human beings to live by. It is the best consciousness because it protects the heart, the soul, the mind, and the body from being in states of suffering. This consciousness, it purifies our thinking, our feelings, our actions, and as a result, we experience more joy. We live from a more powerful states of being. So why is God consciousness important? And we were led to look up different definitions of this phrase in the divine writings, in the Quran, and we found that this kind of consciousness is associated with a lot of different things. And as I go through these, I ask you, any of them that jump out to you, put it in the chat. And really, toward the end, we'll think about how might you apply this today. So one is this quality, this kind of consciousness is the quality of success. And it's associated with truthfulness and sincerity. Also, it's a universal law, and it promotes listening, learning, understanding, and intelligence. And each of these words are coming from a different ayat as we research. I don't have, chapter and verse here. We're just rendering what we found. And as a result of this listening, learning, understanding, intelligence, then one receives guidance. And as one demonstrates this gratitude, right, through obedience and trust in its consciousness, then comes a moral consciousness and a peacefulness. The obedient servant will experience God's forgiveness. This is attached to His forgiveness. It's attached to His mercy and His love. And after that, this righteousness of the heart produces the good deeds, and they will receive a reward. So the question is, what does obedience and consciousness look like for you today, right? How can you think, what kind of thoughts and feelings and behaviors can you do today to embody what we've just shared so far? So I wanna kind of open this up a little and get a sense from you. What's coming up for you as you've listened, uh, being present, and how might you apply any of these concepts? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? What behaviors might you adopt today? And I don't know, maybe an example could be good. Give you an opportunity to think a little bit, because I'm thinking about obedience, right? So it's obedience and consciousness are the two terms today. Be for me, as a businessman, there's some things that I need to do today that's in obedience to the vision that Allah has given me, um, specific tasks. It may be your obedience is in relation to your work, your business, your family. It could be your relationships. Maybe your obedience and consciousness is around, some health kind of situation that you might be dealing with. Um, or maybe it has something to do with the money, finances, or um, leadership, how you managing your time, productivity. What is obedience? What are your thoughts and feelings about what we talked about, and what does obedience look like for you today? And I'm gonna be quiet now.
I did drop something in the chat.
Oh, thank you. I didn't even look down there.
As I figured you hadn't
Thank
seen.
you. Thanks for playing with us, Camila. We appreciate it.
For sure.
Yeah. So she says, observe the things that I am obedient to, the good and bad habits that I trust. I mean, yeah, that I trust that has created the life that I have. Okay.
It's
Uh,
I,
Go
I
ahead,
just have to clarify just a little bit.
please.
Like when you think about your beliefs, like the things that you believe is is your outside world produces your belief. And so some beliefs can be housed in your self-doubt. Some beliefs can be housed in your ability to do a thing. And so your habits are the things that you're obedient to based on what it is that you believe. So there are some bad habits we have that we trust. It's like, okay, well, I'm just going to do this. And then we're not paying attention to, well, you're only doing that because you believe that it's going to do something for you. So yeah.
That's
And
very good. That's very good. And I'm a facilitator. Like I facilitate learning programs. That's what I do. So when we're speaking, I would ask you all to play along with me and use I statements instead of you statements, right? Because they taught me two things got to happen for adults to learn. One is self-reflection. So the I statement helps us reflect and really hear ourselves reflect. I mean, when you say you, I know you talk about I, right? But it's a different energy. It feels different when you use I statements. And the second thing we got to have is some dialogue, really seeking to understand other people's perspectives. Is that okay? Can we play like that? All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I mean, pick a thing, right? What are your thoughts about what you heard? What are your feelings about what is behavior that you want to, specific behavior you want to adopt today?
there's more in the chat.
Thinking more about keeping my thoughts, actions, speech in accordance with the dean. Put them all, check every moment versus, as you said, people thinking they can do anything. So, but what specifically does that mean for you? Like if you if you're going to apply this, like what does it mean? What thought, what action? In accordance with the Dean, how? And again, our focus is obedience, trust, and consciousness today. And again, this is new, you know, this is new. We got to warm up to this process. But I mean, like, again, and people have different learning styles. You know, some people they like to learn, they like to watch and think, and they want to analyze it. You know, other people they like to learn by considering different options and alternatives. You know, some people they like to learn that they just want to learn so they can solve a problem, right? And then there's other people that like to learn so they can take action, which is my preference. And I'm like, if we're not going to do something with it, then why are we even learning, right? And everybody doesn't have that preference. That's okay. But we want to encourage us to think in that vein. So do you want to say anything more about your comment, Ibrahim, or not to put you on the spot? I'm not really trying to put anybody on the spot. Tarlina, she's used to my madness.
And I'm thinking.
Yes. I mean, one piece of obedience, I guess, for me, for us, is the fact that we're here. You know, a call was made, you're answering the call, being regardful as I engage with others, and as you, okay. Well, just what does being regardful look like? You know, we use terms. I have a friend of mine that I've grown close with, and it's dictionary.com, because a lot of times I use words and I don't really know fully what the definition is. Right? So I'll go and look them up. But what does it mean to what does it look like to be regardful when we're engaging? I think this is a great thing, right? Regardful, conscious, be mindful. But what does that look like? I mean, maybe even being mindful of our breath. I think that has something to do with consciousness. وَنَفَخَ فِيهِ مِن رُوحِهِ, right? He breathed to you from his spirit.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum assalam.
I am I'm thinking of consciousness. And when I wake up in the morning, before I even open up my eyes, I become aware and become conscious of my breathing. Because while you're asleep, you don't. And then I'm grateful that I've been given another day. And once I become conscious, I obey that call for me to get up and to make salat, to start my day. And I trust that my day will go very well. And even if it doesn't go well, I know that it's It's alhamdulillah, regardless
Yes, that's very good.
if it goes well or not,
Well, and
because
what's
I've given.
well? What's well, right? I mean, if Allah is in charge of everything, that's what we believe, right? He has power over everything. It may not go the way I want it to be.
But it still goes well.
Exactly. It's a matter of how we want to think about it, right?
And that's the habit that we have to get out of. It's like if it doesn't, if something doesn't go well as far as um what you're used to or what you're used to thinking, what I'm used to thinking, that if it goes my way, the way I plan,
Mhm.
then it's all good. But I have to remember that that I plan, Allah has already planned. So it doesn't matter. It's alhamdulillah anyway.
So you think this has anything to do with consciousness?
Yes, absolutely.
So as we go through our day, how might we apply this idea that you're bringing up, right? It's like, okay, this is how I want it to go, but I want to turn left, but it's going right, right? The situation, the flow. How do we think about it? Right? What do we do when it's not going the way I think it should go? Do we do we accept it or do we try to control it? Right? Because both of those are dual energies, right? And I know people who are control freaks. Anybody ever resemble that idea? I gotta be in control.
Yeah.
And why are people control freaks? Because they don't want to accept things as they are. They want to make it something different. So acceptance, right, could be a good thing. Accept what comes. Let's look and see what is Allah doing right now.
That's true. For example, the other day I was leaving the gym and there was a big accident in the middle of San Pablo. And I was getting a little frustrated about that because there was nothing. There was no way that I couldn't back up. I couldn't go over the divider on the other side of the road with people going in opposite direction. And so I kind of accepted I may have to stay here for a minute. And then I looked to my right and there was a street, but it said no outlet. And no outlet means that it doesn't, you have to turn around and you have to come back. So there is no way out.
Mhm.
And I sat for a moment and then another car went past me and they went that way. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I can't go straight. I can't just sit here for whatever how long. And so I'll just go right and just see and just see. And sure enough, there was another street before the end of the block that you can make a left on. And that's what I did. So sometimes you just have to,
Who?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes
Sometimes I have to decide if I'm going to, instead of just sitting and waiting and letting the situation, let the situation take its do what it do. I decided to just see what happens. And what happened was that I got out of that situation.
yeah.
And so the accident was, so what I'm saying is that the accident was unfortunate. but it was out of my control. That was totally out of my control. There was nothing that I can do about that. And I thought that getting out of that situation was out of my control, and there was really nothing that I can do about it. And I was going to just settle in and just kind of and just and just deal with that, get comfortable and just deal with that.
Yeah.
But another thought came in,
Acceptance.
and yeah, there was acceptance.
Acceptance. It's a powerful concept. Thank you for that story. Camila is talking about surrender, right? Surrender, right? Which is this Islam. It's surrender and trust, Yeah. Because like you say, it's he won't change our external condition until we change what's within our souls, within ourselves, which is our beliefs, what we think, what we feel. At least that's how I see it. And I don't say I'm right about any of this stuff, y'all. I just say that's how I see it. Because Allah knows. And Rashad, thanks for your comment. It says, I think of obedience and consciousness, thinking of consistency and metacognition, being consistent with observing myself from outside of myself, as opposed to living each minute of the day within my own zone, checking checking myself in a sense. For me, it's easy to slip into a state of daily programming, so I try to focus on making small du'as and asking Allah to keep me aware of my thinking patterns and the whys behind my thinking in an attempt to keep myself in check. This is beautiful, right? This is consciousness, right? Being observing my own thoughts, right? My own behaviors, my own feelings. Because what we believe is going to show up in what we think. And what we think is going to show up in what we feel. And what we feel and the energy that comes with emotions is going to show up in our actions. And our actions is what gets us results. And those results are going to reinforce what we believe. So most people are not even conscious of what they believe. We've been programmed to believe things that aren't even true about ourselves from early in life. Right? And once we become consciously aware of those things and see that programming really isn't true, then we can shift and look at what's true. Like, for example, a lot of people I work with, they have this belief, and I was infected by it from early in life, the belief I'm not good enough. I can't do it. I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy. All those kinds of things that we've been conditioned, not only from families but even social and cultural influences overlaying all of that stuff. And that stuff's not even true. Right? It's not true. But if we believe it, so this idea of really paying attention to, and being consistent, paying attention to how you're feeling and what you're thinking and what you're doing, that could be a really powerful consciousness exercise for anyone today. So we just encourage you to decide on, what it is that how you want to apply obedience and consciousness today. How can it apply to your life today? And then, inshallah, tomorrow we come in, we can take 2 minutes and anything anybody wants to share about their experience. Because for sure, the way the brain works, whatever you put your attention on, that's what's going to show up in your life, right? So we're inviting us. We're being invited. Spirit is inviting us to put our attention on obedience and trust, and just being conscious. It could be just remembering God before everything that you do. Bismillah. Start everything with Bismillah. That could be something to do. to be conscious today? I don't know. You decide for yourself. I'm hoping that this is helpful and beneficial for you, for us.
Assalamu alaikum. It is very helpful.
Alaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah. Um,
May I say something?
yeah, I'm hoping somebody's gonna say something because
Assalamu alaikum.
thank you. Alaikum assalam.
This is Latifa. I don't like to talk, but I got in a little late because whatever reason, I couldn't find the link. But I noticed that when you said, someone said, you said to use I versus you when you're thinking, I guess, and talking. I use you, one, a person, and all that because I think I'm being more fair to other people, even in my head, and they can't hear me, right? When I'm talking about something. But the focus needs to be me. If I'm talking about, I want to be the most obedient to Allah as I can. So one of the things I need to learn is to not be so concerned about everybody else when I'm thinking about improving myself as a believer, as a Abdullah's servant to Allah. So it might not have been a big deal to anybody else, but that was a really big point to use I versus the others.
Alhamdulillah. We thank Allah for that. Thank you for sharing. And every situation is different, right? I mean, I think, some would say me is selfishness. It's a selfish energy, right? Yet there's a certain amount of taking care of yourself first before you can take care of everybody else, right? And I think I know a little bit about our women in the sense that y'all take care of everybody else and you don't take care of yourself like you could or should, right? And I don't want to say should because should implies judgment in my way of thinking. So I'm not judging. We just want you to take care of yourself, right? So all I'm saying when we're making statements about ourselves, that's the I statement so that you can reflect on what you're saying, right? And um, and use you when it's appropriate, but you can be, it can be inflammatory sometimes in certain situations. Like you did so and so and so and so, and it's like kind of a thing. So, but I know that's not what you're talking about. But anyway, anybody else have anything they want to say? What you're taking away? What you plan to do today?
Dr. Zaid,
Yes, Khalida.
Assalamu alaikum. I just
Alaikum
like
assalam.
I just like to say that when we talked about consciousness, one of the things that came to mind was I had a client one time that came in and wanted to talk, and I could see that she was in distress. And I knew that she was in distress, but at that time I was going through some personal problems myself. And I kind of just blew her off. And then when she left, she felt dejected. I could see it on her face. And something came to me. It was almost as if Allah was saying, shame on you. What are you doing? So I went to her and I apologized to her and I explained to her that I was really sorry the way I treated her. And after that, it really was made me conscious of the way that we treat people. A smile sometimes can just make a big difference in a person's life. And we have to be cognizant of the way that we make other people feel. Even if we're not feeling well, we still have an obligation to make other people feel good. So that brought that up to me.
Oh, that's
Consciousness and being
beautiful.
conscious of how other people are feeling. You don't know what people are going through on a daily basis.
That's true.
They could be smiling to keep from crying.
No, it's true. And particularly in the world we live in right now,
Right.
Shaitan's got people inflamed, and our consciousness of God is even more important, that we be in that space. Um, Anything might show up at any moment, right?
Right.
Are we frustrated or are we patient? You know,
Right.
and what does the divine guidance say? Well, that Allah loves those who are patient. In another place, Allah supports those who are patient. You know, so which do you prefer? I'm not saying you personally. I'm just saying
Mhm.
what does a person prefer? Frustration or patience?
Right.
And Allah's with the word is ma'a, mim ayn. In Allah ma'a sabirin. Allah is with those who are patient in a way that He's supporting them. It's one thing to just be with someone, but it's another thing to be with them in a way that you support them.
Right.
And so we understand in the language that He is supporting those who are patient, and He loves those who are patient. So maybe that's a consciousness thing for someone today. I don't know. Whatever comes up is what's supposed to come up. Anybody
Assalamu
else?
alaikum.
Yes, please. Thank you. Alaikum assalam.
This is Sister Yolanda. Is there a dua that can help when we are in certain situations to remind ourselves to be more conscious of others? I always think about we have the 5 daily prayers, and that's when we seek Allah's forgiveness and mercy, but we also ask God to help us in those. But is there something, I know there's a lot of duas out there, but I was just making one specific one that you can, that I can forward my thoughts to whenever I'm having certain days that might affect me. So
That's a great
that's one.
question. Uh, Thank you for asking that question, Yolanda. I don't have an answer off the top of my head. I think that well, the first thing that came up is just kind of being aware, of what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling in a moment. Um, yeah, it is really that it's awareness, it's consciousness of, and I don't know how it is for you or any of you, but I know sometimes for me, like I can feel the emotion welling up inside of me, and it becomes like a sign. Okay, you getting ready to go into, frustration, or you're getting ready to, you're, listening to myself, right? Paying attention. Oh, you're devaluing yourself right now, right? Which has been an issue for me over my life. And I'm not the only one, right? But when I become aware, consciously aware of that, then I think any dua that might come out of your soul would be appropriate at that point. But when we're not conscious of it, we're just operating off of, our unconscious patterns, you know, then whatever from that will happen. And maybe we don't have time to reflect, like Kalita was saying, oh, I could have done better or whatever. But if we can just be, if I, right, if I can just be aware of how I'm feeling and thinking in a moment, then I can decide, and all of this stuff really is about, it's about making a decision, you know, to be more fully who you are, who we are as human beings, you know. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
And I was just thinking that um, to be more conscious of my actions, of my thinking, um, it takes it's work, good work, it's like when you work out every day, or when I work out on a regular basis, something just doesn't come automatically. Your muscle, it takes time for your muscles to adapt to using that particular muscle and using your mind. The more I think or conscious of what I'm thinking and conscious of what I'm doing, um, the less, um, how do I want to say, the less difficult, or um, I become stronger.
Yes.
I become stronger consciously.
Yes.
And so I don't want to be on autopilot and just go through the day and not think about what I'm doing, but just go through the day. And I have a plan. You go to the store, I do this, I do this, I do that, and just don't think about it. But to be conscious of what I'm doing, um, I can say Bismillah, because that's like, it's if I'm thinking about that, it's easy. It's just Bismillah. It brings my brain forward
Yeah.
to being God conscious.
Yes.
And I can apply that in everything that I do.
Thank you. And you talk about working out, this exercise we're doing this morning is a workout. It's a
It's a workout.
spiritual workout, right? And so we set our day, maybe I don't know if Imam Fahim, if you have a dua that could help respond to Yolanda's question, or we have 3 minutes left, and I know tomorrow, as we've stated, the Imam's going to share with us uh, and take us further into comprehension and understanding. We want to operate with the phrase for 2 days. Why? Keep ourselves in this energy, right? See what happens today. We'll get off here in 3 minutes. We're going to make our 2 rakahs. Salatul Duha is pretty powerful, and we make our two, but you can make 2 rakahs up to 12, two, 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 two. You can make as many as you want. We definitely want to make the two at a minimum. But maybe, whatever spirit's guiding you. Yes, Masha. Thank you for this. Checking the ego. Yeah, it happens. It's real. And the prophet cautioned us to do not become angry, right? And so when I'm in frustration, I believe frustration is what leads to anger. And yeah, maybe it's just be patient. Maybe I'm gonna be conscious by just really listening to other people. Okay.
And now I'm sorry. The two the rock.
We're gonna stop in 1 minute because we're gonna stop on time.
Okay.
Just want to let you.
Okay. That the two rakas. That's
Yes.
called what?
Salatul Duha.
Duha.
Yeah.
Salatul duha.
Yeah. And Duha is the greater light. So I thank you. We're looking forward to today. Um, and yeah, up until about 20 minutes before uh, really up until Zuhr, you can make Salatul Duha. So you can make your two, and then you might come back later on and make some more. I don't know. However Allah moves you, spirit moves you. But I thank you for being here. I pray Allah that it's been beneficial. And we'll close out with the dua. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. Our guardian evolve, accept this from us, for you are the hearer and the knower of all things. Ameen. Have a wonderful day. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Alaikum assalam. Thank you so
Walaikum
much.
assalam.
Alaikum
Wow.
assalam,
Salam.
everyone.
Assalamu alaikum.